Round 1. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry gamers.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the 323rd episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by ATEBIT.net and those sexy audio-based legends over at audiotechnica.com. Go upgrade your audio game today. Tell them the Hungry Gamers sent you. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan 8-Bit. And joining me on this episode, my podcast Ride or Die, the water and bubbles to my wonky fruit. You can find her on them socials at Miss Ellie Hart. Miss Ellie Hart, how the bloody hell are you?
I'm very curious. I'm actually sitting here trying to ponder on what the reference is.
Okay, it's a bit of a deep cut. So I'm a big advocate here for the audio listeners. I'm holding up a can of Dash water, which is no calories, no sugar, no sweeteners, sparkling water. It's delicious. But their byline on the back here is water, bubbles, and wonky fruit. So that's all that's really in the drink itself. It's super delicious. It's my favorite sort of sparkling based water because I'm just ultimately trying to drink less soda. I'm trying to, I love a good can of Coke, love me Pepsi Max, whatever. But so I'm trying to substitute when I can still get a bit of sparkle, a bit of bubble with one of these little beauties. So Dash Water, please sponsor us because I love your flavors so much. And I've just subscribed on Amazon to monthly case drops. So
wow. That's pretty exclusive. So it's essentially LaCroix, the fruit flavored sparkling. Yeah. That has been my gateway out of soda as well, like drinking Coca-Cola and even Coke Zero. LaCroix has actually really helped with that because it does kind of settle that curve of that illusion of sweetness, I guess, a sweet bubbly drink. And they had released one recently, which is very lucky for me, which was called, the flavor is limoncello.
Ooh,
and
yes.
I don't know how to say this without it not sounding gross, but it tastes like you're drinking lemon sherbet. It's delicious. It's delicious. So the same thing, I think it's 0 calories or if anything, probably 5 tops. But yeah, it's the best way to, I guess, to get out of drinking soda, but that is not drinking water.
Yeah,
so,
I guess you're getting a bit of the water goodness in there too, but yeah, it's delicious. I love me a soda, but the body is a fragile thing. You've got to look after it as best you can.
Howdy.
And hear that nice aggressive
a little bit of a ASMR.
But yeah, Dash water, and I like that they use the wonky fruit. So they use they accept the misfits as far as that's
I was going to ask what wonky
not right
fruit
to sell. Yeah, so
okay. I thought wonky fruit. No, it sounds like wampa fruit.
Oh, it's a crash collab, you reckon?
Crash nod, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm drinking the raspberries right now, but I've also got in the fridge lemon, I've got mango, and I've got cucumber. So got all the flavors.
Can't do a cucumber. No.
What about
can't do a cucumber and can't do a watermelon, I'm finding as well.
Oh, I love water. I've got watermelon and apple juice in the fridge too.
Damn, you're set. All the fruits.
All the fruits. But yes, let's, I guess, shift focus to what we usually... I guess we talk about random things like this all the time on THG anyway. So it's nothing new for listeners that have been here once or twice before. But I guess we could start with what we've been up to. And I will quickly start with what I've been watching this week, which has started to get a lot of praise on the socials, a lot of people being very excited for a new entry onto Netflix. I wasn't sure with the naming of the show itself if it was actually about maybe people in the meat industry, but it is not the case at all. I was very wrong. So what I'm referring to is a show on Netflix called Beef, which is a drama, you could say drama comedy a little bit. There is some funny moments with Ali Wong and Stephen Yeun as the two leads, and it's based around this road rage incident that occurs sort of right off the drop, and just the realism and the drama and just the the strains and trials and tribulations of living life, I guess, in 2023, where, you know, it's high stress. You know, Ali Wong, her character, Amy, and she's, you know, successful and married, so it like weaves into, you know, happy life and all those tropes, but like what's under the surface. Stephen Yeun is playing Danny, who's like a sort of, I guess, a struggling contractor. And so you're sort of seeing the high end and the low end of town, and then the drama and the tension that sort of exists somewhere in the middle. But it's really enjoyable. Like, there's 10 episodes. I think I'm at episode 8, so I don't know how it's going to end yet. But like, I really like the realism and the vulnerability in this show. Like, there's a lot of relatable moments from both sides of the spectrum with Stephen and Ali's characters. But it's been really enjoyable. It's an easy watch. Some of the situations can make you feel a bit uncomfortable, like as a good drama should, but then there's some lighthearted moments. So yeah, Beef is a pleasant little hit so far for 2023. I didn't even know it was getting made, didn't even know it existed, and then it's, as it does, just sneaks its way onto Netflix, and yeah, it seems the internet is very happy for Beef.
Yeah, I totally agree that, like, I only heard just like I only started seeing like a snippet of trailers that kind of came through my usually web video viewing, and then next thing you know, it came out, and I think the day or night of its release, like, everyone was talking about it and hyping it up, and I've got to say it, like, everyone is saying how amazing and how great it is and how wonderful the cast is, but I really haven't heard much about what it's about. And that, I think you just now have explained like what it's about for the first time for me, and I'm still like, wow. And so I'm actually still curious, like, how it's been holding up and why everyone loves it so much. So I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to see what the hype is essentially about, because yeah, it's very curious.
No, it's been sort of checking the boxes for me, that's for sure, where, like, obviously I'm consuming far too much anime, and I'm like, maybe I should watch something else just to have a little bit of a breakup of my routine here. And I was scrolling through Netflix and yeah, saw Beef there, and I'm like, oh, what is this? I like Stephen Yeun, I like Ali Wong. She's going from strength to strength as an actress. Like, yeah. she's a very talented woman, and she's great in the role of Amy. And A24 are the production company behind this. Anyone that knows anything that A24 have done, it's usually a bit left of center, I guess is the nice way to describe most of the material that they attach themselves to. Like, you know, big hits like Hereditary, Green Knight, Midsummer, etc., etc. A lot of the more art house, unique dramas, thrillers, horrors, and everything else in between is what A24 usually tie themselves to.
Actually, A24 just recently dropped a trailer for an Australian horror movie called Talk to Me. It looks fantastic, and I hate that when I was watching it, I'm like, what is this accent? Like,
I remember that accent.
I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. But yeah, like, I was so like, it was once again another trailer that played as an ad. It was either on Twitch or on YouTube, and usually the second that skip button comes up, I'm usually pretty quick at it. But this trailer played, and I was absolutely drawn into it, and to hear that it's like got connections to Australia and stuff, I'm like, yes, like I'm so happy. And, you know, having A24 stamp of approval on it as well means so much. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about this movie, because it looks really spooky.
They've said, I've seen a few sort of quotes from various members of the A24 staff saying that movie is just about the scariest film that they've attached themselves to date. So,
wow.
To know the amount of films and TV that A24 have had their DNA involved in, you know, it's a very vast list. And to say that this is like the creepiest, freakiest thing they've done so far, it's like, oh shit, what's this movie going to be? Like, the trailer looks great. It looks all kinds of eerie and uncomfortable. And like you said, it's awesome to see Australians having a global impact on some of these various forms of media, and we'll talk about a game that's attached to Australian game development later in the news. But yeah, Beef, check it out. Really fun, really relatable, really raw. Which it's just a good watch. Each episode runs, I think they're anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes, so the episodes aren't too long and dense. 10 episodes in the season. I'm at about episode 8, but I've been really, really digging it so far. Like, we were talking in the late hours last night, and I did stay up a little bit after. I said I've got to go to bed and need some sleep because I watched another episode of Beef. So, yeah. But we're here now, and we're recording. And, yeah, Beef on Netflix. Really recommend it so far. I'm 80% of the way through, but it's been a great ride.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, but something that I don't know if I can recommend, which I'm sorry to say, you know, we always try and be pretty optimistic here at THG, and I've been playing this game. It's only just dropped the last couple of weeks, available on many a platform. It's done by a publisher and development company called Persona Theory Games. The game came out on the 4th of April, and it's on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, and it's an interactive visual novel called Cabaret. And you think, oh, Cabaret, it's all song and dance and slapsticky and whimsical. No, it is not. No, it is not. So it focuses on South Asian folklore, and I guess the big question that the game poses to you almost right from the jump is like, you know, what is life? Is life worth living? What is there to offer? Like, it's very, very dreary and dread-inducing right from the jump. And I didn't know how to feel about that to begin with because I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mindset or the right mood to play it. And then the art style, it's really minimalistic. It's really stripped back, which is fine. You know, I'm not going to sort of pan what Persona Theory have done as far as the aesthetic. There is some really very impressive, visually stunning panels that they do weave into this game itself, but it's a fantasy tale, you could say, where you're playing the role of Jabat, who's a young adult male in Malaysia, and his life is very shitty, I guess you could say. And what happens is he's an Uber delivery driver for all intents and purposes, or a food delivery driver, because there's no Uber reference or no DoorDash, but he's a food delivery driver. And he witnesses a robbery out as he's delivering his food, and he does nothing. And what then happens is he gets cursed, and the curse turns him into a demon, and it transports him into this realm of various monsters, demons, and mythical creatures from Malaysian lore. And so he ends up working as a tea master in this place. And so you're having interactions with various monsters and creatures of mythological standing, but the conversations you have, like, it is heavy. Some of the tone and some of the imagery they show, like, it's pretty unsettling shit. So there is some trigger warnings in there to do with suicide and self-harm and everything like that. So if that is something that is a little bit more of a sensitive or triggering subject for yourself, just be warned, because there is some of that right in the first, like, 30 minutes of the game. So, yeah, just be warned about that. But I had a really hard time getting into the game because it was, like I said, it is a visual novel. There's no voice acting in it. It's all just text on screen. You're literally just clicking through. I was playing on the Xbox, and, you know, point-and-click games don't usually translate too well to a controller, as we've talked about many times. But you're not really doing anything in this game apart from clicking through, reading the text, and then occasionally you get a couple of response-based options which can vary the story, where you can, you know, respond calmly, negatively, whatever, you know, to sort of fork the narrative in a certain way. But outside of that, the game is, I think, probably a little too heavily reliant on these difficult topics that you're tackling. I think it's more about making you feel a little uncomfortable and the shock value. And I think when you're getting hit over the head with that repeatedly, it sort of lessens the impact at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
So I think I played for about 2.5 hours, and that 2.5 hours, it was a struggle. Like, not that the source material, it did make me feel uncomfortable, but, like, just the game, I couldn't get into it. I was really struggling, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to push. I'm going to give it a little bit of a go. But I played for, just a bit over 2 hours. Then I had to put it down because I just wasn't meshing with the art style. I wasn't meshing with the way that the story is getting told. I wasn't meshing with just literally, pressing A to circulate through all this text. And even, like, the way it was written, it just wasn't smooth as far as the writing style. It was just wasn't snappy. Needed to maybe go into ChatGPT to tighten up some of the verbiage you're dealing with there. Shameless plug. But Cabaret just didn't really work for me. Like, I get that they're trying to in the role of this character named Jabat, to, I guess, confront his demons and, you know, his certain views and how he treats or sees others and try and, I guess, improve that mindset and make him a bit more of a positive influence and become, you know, a protagonist instead of, I guess, he's like that, almost like a losery antagonist at the moment. But I just couldn't get into it. Like, I really, really, really struggled. So I think 2 and a bit hours is a fair amount of time to invest to know if you're going to enjoy something.
Yeah.
I probably could have pulled the pin after an hour because I knew pretty early on that this didn't feel like it was going to be a game for me. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give the game its due and push a little further. But yeah, I'm sorry, Persona Theory Games, but yeah, Cabaret is not for me. I've sort of been doing a little bit of digging around on reviews just to sort of see where it fits in the broader media spectrum as far as has it been getting reviewed well. Am I an outlier? But like there isn't a Metacritic score for the game officially attached on Metacritic yet. There is a couple of critic reviews. One was a 60 out of 100, and then there's also an 80 out of 100. So if you average that out, it's a 70. So that seems way too high for me, but maybe it was just right place, right time for the 2 reviewers, but just not for me.
You know what? To be completely fair, and we all have our preferences in game play styles, and you know what we like, what we don't like. And I've got to say, like, even for me, visual novel games, I'm not really big on. I find that if you'd have to be exclusively maybe just looking for a story experience and less of I want to play a game when you choose to play a visual novel. So I think, considering, like, I don't think you very much like play visual novels regularly. No.
No.
So you were definitely coming from a completely different perspective, and it was a genre that you don't necessarily reach out for, and that was your experience with it. So I think it's perfectly fair for you to have that review. Maybe the other reviews out there were fans of that particular subgenre. You know, perfectly fair. I am with you. I don't like visual novels generally because it is just essentially just clicking a button and just watching a story in front of you. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because there's that lack of interactivity into a lot of visual novel, it needs to be propped up by the visual style or the soundtrack or just the writing. And some of these South Asian monsters and deities and whatever else, some of them look great in some of the panels, but then other times the art style gets a little stripped back and it feels like it's a little lacking. And yeah, it just didn't gel with me. I like the concept of being a tea master and trying to brew teas for these various monsters, which added a little bit of stress and strain because you've got to get all the right ingredients in its right order to make the tea of choice. But then with that as well, there's no consequence of fucking that up. The story keeps pushing forward regardless of you mucking up the mechanics. So there was this sense of stress that came on the make of the tea preparation, but then it felt pointless at the same time because it's like, I failed, but the story's going on anyway. So there was some sort of missteps there, but yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't, it wasn't for me. But Cabaret, yeah, like as we mentioned, two reviews officially up on Metacritic, averaging it out at 70. So it's a pretty passable score. But for me, I'd be scoring a lot less than that because it just didn't really work for me. Like, you know, I don't know if I want to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd chuck it somewhere in the like between 30 and 40 because I just couldn't gel with this. I like that it took some risks and went into some dark places with that narrative, but outside of that, it just didn't really have much else going for it for me. But yeah, it was still pretty at times, and some of the soundtrack was okay, but it just felt a little weak, a little watered down from what I was hoping to get out of Cabaret. But yeah, so I played that a little bit this week, and we've also been playing a little bit of the latest season/chapter of Fortnite. They've just rolled out the latest update where we've got some Attack on Titan collabs. You've got the ODM gear in there, so you're zipping around like a mad dog and throwing thunder spears and stabbing people. How you been finding that?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So this is very similar to when they introduced the web slinger and then they introduced like a grappling gun, and it's just like there are these these fast-paced opportunities of like mobility around the map, but I just think sometimes people are like spamming it, and like I know I can't hit someone when they're mid-air, like zooming around the map like that. And I just feel like, especially playing in teams, that all you're doing is facing off people who are zooming around you, and like it's interesting to use, but I just think it's, for me, tarnishing the experience a little bit when everyone's kind of just doing it, especially when you're in the final, you know, you're in like the top 5 or whatever, and everyone's just kind of zooming around, and it's just a matter of who gets hit and who doesn't. So, which of course is pretty much essentially the game, but you know, but you know, who's airbound and who's grounded, I guess, is usually the defining factor.
Yeah, the meta of Fortnite the last few seasons is definitely, if you don't have the traversal tool, you're cooked.
Screwed. Yeah.
Like if you don't have the hammer or the blade or now the ODM gear, you are in a world of hurt, because if you're in a firefight and they're starting to get the advantage over you can, you know, whip to that item I just mentioned, get out of there and catch your breath potentially. But if you don't have that, you are gone. And the ODM gear is fun to zip around on. It allows you to close the gap really quick. But like you said too, it's so annoying when you're battling solo, duo, trio, squad, whatever it is, and you've got this person dead to rights. They've got like, you know, one shot and they're gone. But then, lo and behold, they've got a blade or they've got the ODM gear, and then they're shoot, and they're gone. Yep. And it's just like, like I get that it adds a nice new wrinkle or layer to the game. But at the same time, it can be so frustrating. It is so frustrating. But then it has saved me a few times too. So I can't completely just rag on it when I know it's prolonged my life a couple of times this week.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I just like think like they have to kind of like evaluate what it brings to the Battle Royale experience, and does it just prolong it? Does it reward people for using it? Or is it just essentially an out that would just frustrate others? I don't know. Like with a lot of these weapons and items that they kind of introduce that kind of get a bit like OP, they're usually people, well actually it's more the community who find a way to counter them usually. Mm-hmm. So maybe I've got to wait just a little bit longer to figure out what that is, but right now, no.
Yeah, it's all the hotness, it's all the rage. But I think that it might only be around for maybe another week or so. These sort of limited collabs where they have a pop-up of a new character and a new concept mid-chapter usually only last a week or two. So hopefully it won't prolong its stay too heavily. On the current rotation, have you got a favorite weapon? Like, have you got a favorite gun that sort of is your go-to in the latest chapter?
You know what? Like I was running the combat shotgun, and either would kind of split between the pistol or the SMG. But I am finding now that like even the shotgun is losing its impact. Maybe it's not hitting the same way that it used to. I don't know if that actually had any changes recently, but it's just not hitting the same way. And the SMG, it's still doing all right, but it's being shut down very quickly with those overpowered exotic weapons and legendaries that spawn on the island that appears.
The pulse gun.
Oh
yeah.
My god, that damn pulse! It's had a change recently, but yeah, that's
they rip you in half in like a millisecond. If they've got the jump on you with that gun, you are gone.
I've been one shot with one, so like yeah, but they've changed it apparently, so apparently it's not going to be too much of an issue anymore. So hopefully,
yeah, I'm with you. I like I'll usually run, if I've got the ODM gear or like a blade for traversal, then I'll try and have the cans as my healing item because it's shields and health, and then I'll usually run the Cobra DMR, a shotgun, and a pistol or an SMG as sort of the three. I'm
sorry, the Cobra DMR is not consistent. It is not like consistent in its accuracy. I have had so many times where I follow people, I change it up because I'm not hitting people from a distance, and I don't know. I'm obviously shit, but like
you're not.
I can't find the secret sauce on what I'm meant to be doing to improve, because I feel like I'm lining it up, and then it's just like, nope. And then you move it, and it's like, nope. And then like I move it another way, nope. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Throw the gun.
It can be inconsistent, I think. The hitbox on that gun is a little scattershot. But also this week in general, I'm assuming you probably copped the same, but the connectivity in the game can be a bit janky. Like there's been some rubber banding or some tearing or a few like lags here and there throughout every game I've played this week. You'll notice a little bit.
I've maybe had the occasional, like, that I've registered of, like, a jump, like, maybe a frame jump in, like, frantic moments, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's, like, a lot of players in the area, and maybe there's been a bit of a jump, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's consistently through matches or whatever like that for me.
Yeah, been getting probably 1 to 2 every match that I've played.
Probably
this
server-side issue.
Yeah. AU servers are getting DDoSed or something, but who knows? But it's still super fun. And on that new Unreal Engine 5, holy moly, this game's pretty. Like, it is stunning. The locations and the vibrancy in those locations, especially around, like, what's it called? Night City? What's the city called?
I have no idea.
Whatever the cyberpunk /
it.
Japanese fused city is, it is stunning with the neon and
It looks great. I just stay away from it.
I hate that zone too.
Hate it. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's not a good time. But something that is a good time is videogamesandculture.com, the best website to find all Hungry Gamers and 8-bit related content. You can get direct access to all our podcasts in episodic fashion there. If you want to get some merchandise, you can do so over at shop8bit.net. And be sure to follow us on all the socials at We Are 8bit. And while you're there, jump on into Discord, say hello. Get your predictions in as well for Jedi Survivor to win some pizza on us. We've still got about a week or so before the game comes out, so get those review predictions in for Metacritic. And if you guess correctly, you'll get a pizza party on us. So do that, and we'll be forever thankful. But let's jump into some news.
This week's news headlines. Presented by Audio-Technica.
All right, and the first bit of news, it's some sad news, but we're not at all surprised. This game seems to be in development hell, and following reports last month that Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League would be delayed again, Warner Brothers this week has made it official, and then some, pushing the Batman Arkham Knight follow-up's release all the way back to the 2nd of February of 2024. This does, of course, mark the second substantial delay for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which was initially expected to arrive in 2022 before Warner Brothers made the decision to shift its launch to the 26th of May of this year in order to, in quotes, make the best game we can. It seems they need more time to make the best game we can. 9 months after the second delay. This is, a little bit of a panic station here. We're not at DEF CON 5 just yet, but hang on. With DEF CONs, is it the higher the number, the worse it is? I think, right? Like DEF CON 1 might be...
Oh, hang on. I'm trying to remember Short Circuit. No, not Short Circuit. War Games.
I'm Googling it at the same time.
Because, I'm trying to remember what was worse. But they do mention DEF CON 5 a lot.
That's the lowest state of readiness. Okay, so if it's going the other way, DEF CON 2 is real bad news because
and DEF CON 1 is like nuclear war.
Next step is nuclear war, yeah. Okay, so we're not quite at DEF CON 3 yet, which is the exercise term known as Roundhouse, apparently, in DEF CON terms. But I'm starting to get a little concerned about this game, Miss Hart. You and I are, I think, pretty excited when it got announced a few years ago, but that excitement is starting to wane.
There's a lot of factors that kind of came into the excitement kind of dwindling for this title. And the speculation with this announcement of them pushing the title back into 2024 is, oh, good. They heard the outrage after their trailer game details that they kind of also released. They showed gameplay, extra information on what kind of system they're going to be implementing, and the internet wasn't happy. And so some people believe that the pushback for May was going to have the changes, but now that this is pushed back to the 2024, everyone's speculating that they're actually making changes that people complained about. I don't think they will change too much. I don't think they're going to change the
The whole like live service pay to win almost type of.
Maybe they'll adjust it. Maybe it will be adjusted in some kind of way where it's not the main dependency. I don't know, but either way, like we now live in a time where game delays are just constant and consistent, especially for AAA titles. But I mean, I'm curious how this affects studios, how this affects shareholders and everything, because money gets invested into these things, and you assume that timelines are projected in order to account for budgeting in the process of making the game, and then how much it makes in sales, and then the prolonged time of it being made just pushes like that gap together on how much they need to make additionally for profit. So I mean, I'd be worried if I was Rocksteady.
It's worrisome. Like, I think you nailed it. Like, forecasting is a part of all business because they need to know where the money's coming from. And the fact that this game was originally planned for last year, so they've had that hole to try and, pivot out of, because there's not this cash injection from all these copies of Kill the Justice League getting acquired. And then they've since moved that to May, and now that's been kicked out of this year. So they've just got this hole that they're just constantly trying to backfill with games from, I guess, the broader Warner Brothers slate to try and hope that they can sort of, prolong this damage that the delays are doing from Kill the Justice League. Like, it's tough. Like, in any type of business where there's sales and targets to meet, people at the top have the questions coming at you for anyone underneath that is responsible for these. Where's this money coming in? Why is there delays? Where's my commissions, or where's my my share price going up? Because this is not happening. So I'd say people within Warner Brothers would be getting very, I don't know if upset's the right word, but they'd certainly be questioning what's going on there, because they've all got targets, they've all got money they want to make, and the fact that this game has seemed to be just such a moving target as far as when it's coming, will it come, won't it come, and now to see it released, I guess you could say a year and a half after when it was meant to come out, like that's a huge delay. And Warner Brothers is a massive company that is driven heavily on dollars and cents. Like you can see in the DC space, where if these franchises aren't doing much, they'll just cut it. Even when something like the Batgirl movie was pretty well finished, and they went, you know what, we're just going to scrap it. It was in post production. They're like, no, we're canceling it now. We're not even going to release it.
I wonder if that also has to do with the component of marketing too, because marketing is massive. It's a massive cost. So, they have to always account for those kind of things too. Like Warner Brothers is obviously a juggernaut, and they have their funding and they have their, money behind them in order to kind of push these kind of medias. But like you said, they're super quick to start just cutting when they want to, when they don't see the results that they want. So it's very fickle. So
it's very fickle. And I guess the fact that they're going to be doing, I guess, the third marketing campaign now for this game, like the lead up that we saw a bit of a drive in 2022. We've seen a bit more of a push in 2023, and now we're going to see it again in 2024. And these marketing campaigns that are done globally, they're not cheap. So the money that they're investing into that space alone would be eroding what profit they might be pulling out of this game next year come the 2nd of February. But we'll see. I'm assuming this is probably the last time we talk about Kill the Justice League for quite a while, until maybe we get another new gameplay trailer, or like you mentioned, Ali, where they come back out and say, hey, we've retooled the whole experience based off negative feedback. Here you go. And you know what? That would be a win for gamers, but ultimately this feels like a bit of a loss for Warner Brothers and Rocksteady, because the hype of this game is dwindling, at least for me.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, at least for us. Something else that was a little bit divisive and a little bit of a pin getting put into a balloon here was Arcane's co-op vampire shooter Redfall. It's going to be arriving locked at 30 FPS on Xbox Series X and S. So on the Xbox Series S, the game will run at 1440p in 30 frames, and on Xbox Series X, Redfall will run at 4K in 30 frames. These options represent the game's, in air quote, quality mode setting for each platform. A 60 FPS performance mode option is still planned for Redfall on consoles, but that will arrive post-launch via an update. So this can be one way or another, like some players like to experience their games in performance mode, 60 FPS, all those frames, buttery smooth, or they want the higher resolution at a capped frame rate for that quality mode or that visual mode. There's certain descriptors that a lot of games use. But yeah, a lot of people have come out and said, just delay this game again until we can get both, as opposed to bringing it out in May, where we get, I guess, only one option. Like, I'm not upset about this. I play a lot of games on quality mode because I prefer the higher resolution. Depending on the genre. Like racing games, definitely. You want the frames. Give me all of the frames. Fighting games, sports games, you want the higher frame rates. But something like a Resident Evil 4 Remake, for example, give me that in 4K. 30 FPS is fine, as opposed to 60 FPS at a lower res. So it depends on the style of game, and this pacing that Arcane has shown with gameplay and demos of Redfall, it feels like this isn't going to be detrimental to the game. I think the game's still going to run great. It's going to look great too in the quality mode, but I've seen a lot of discourse on Twitter this week about, delay it. I don't want to play it until we get this performance mode version. And it's going to be interesting because this is one of the major Xbox exclusives that we don't get many of. And it's been riddled with delays and issues already. And here's another problem.
So this is an interesting look into maybe a studio kind of putting the eggs in baskets and seeing which one would be the better payoff. And I'm wondering why not delaying it a few more. I obviously don't know how long it would have taken in order to execute the 460 frames, but what's better, to delay it and then give the full experience, or just risk it and finally release it, but release it at as not, I don't want to say not as a complete game, but not as a fully polished game, I guess is the best way to describe it. I think it might be a disservice by kind of trying to put something out there, and whether people actually paid attention to it or not, but kind of saying like, oh, we're releasing the game, but there will be an update later to make it better. Although there's been actually a few titles that have kind of done that. We obviously saw that with Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk wasn't fully optimized for the new consoles, but I guess that was more about games being developed for both old console, new console, and then they were just, I don't know. But like, I just don't know what options or why they chose this option to release a game that sounds like it's not fully polished, because I think that could hurt their sales. And like you said, Xbox exclusive, they'd want the best possible outcome, and this could hurt.
Well, it makes me think of Halo Infinite all over again, where we got parts of it at launch, we didn't get the other parts, and it was very divisive in the community. But it's funny too, because if they just announced that this game is only coming out with these specs, people would be like, okay, high frame rate would have been great, but that's what we got. But because they've said there's this other option coming, is where the frustration has sort of arisen from, because you've given gamers choice and they don't get both choices at launch. They're like, F you Arcane, F you Microsoft, this is bullshit. But if they just said, hey, this is what you're getting, you get what you get, you don't get upset, everyone like, okay, fair enough, I got no choice. But because the choice is there and it's been taken away, that's where the anger comes from. But we'll see, we'll see how long we have to wait for this future update for performance mode to drop. But we're still going to play this in May. I'm going to still have a good time with it. And 30 FPS and 4K or 1440p on the Series S, that's pretty fine to me.
Yeah, and also talking about Redfall, I noticed there was a bit of discourse, or I guess positive discourse, on Twitter where I don't know who presented it, but there was some gameplay shown that was circulating along Twitter, and a lot of people were actually commenting saying like, actually this looks really good, like I don't know what we saw previously, but this gameplay actually really looks good. I wish I remember who actually released the footage, but maybe if you are curious, like maybe you were disheartened by, I believe IGN might have been the ones that did the original. go out there and see if you can find the updated gameplay, because it may change your mind. It seems like it's really changed a lot of people's minds out there after witnessing what some people have referred to someone who knows how to play the game. So
spicy.
Isn't very spicy.
Spicy sometimes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Something that is a bit of a win though for Team Green is the next little quick hitter. So Ubisoft Plus Multi-Access is now available on Xbox consoles. The subscription service provides access to games from Ubisoft's catalog. Multi-Access allows access across multiple platforms with just one subscription. So this includes PC through their Ubisoft Connect, Amazon Luna, and now Xbox. The library includes the latest Ubisoft releases on day one, as well as DLC and classic games. Subscribers also receive 10% off any in-game purchases, and so far the likes of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Tom Clancy's Division 2, Far Cry 6, and more are included. And the great thing as well is cross-progression is also available for a select number of titles. So whether you get your gaming on console, whether you get it on PC, or you play via Amazon Luna, your saves shall carry across those platforms most of the time. Asterisks. We're not saying that on the record. We need to confirm what the actual list is, but it's kind of cool to have yet another option to get these games day one bundled into your console of choice if you're an Xbox gamer. I figure it's only a matter of time before maybe this gets gobbled up into a Game Pass offering where you pay a little extra and you get Ubisoft Plus Multi-Access. We're already seeing EA Access sort of included now and bundled in with Game Pass. So I feel this is all just going to become part of a future tier of your standard Game Pass offering. And I'd pay it. Like if I can get Ubisoft games day one for an extra few bucks a month, giddy up.
Yeah, like I think it's more making games available across all platforms. Like even Xbox, they have Game Pass, but if you want your Game Pass access on both your console and PC, you kind of have to pay a little bit more for that. So the fact that Ubisoft Plus Multi-Access is just saying, no, you just get it across all is actually pretty good. And this is actually really good to hear too, because I don't know why I've had a hankering to play The Division lately. I don't know why. So I think I've been seeing a lot of similar things out there and I'm like, man, remember The Division? The Division was fun. But I also think it's a great attachment to also say that you get 10% off any in-game currency purchases too. That's also a pretty good, cherry on top. So I think this is a pretty, smart concept that they're rolling out.
We've sort of talked about Ubisoft in a bit of a negative light pretty infrequently over the last few months. So it's nice that this is a bit more of a pro-consumer move. And like you mentioned, this is very much the Phil Spencer MO or the modus operandi, if we want to get fancy, where gaming should be everywhere for every gamer, and that's what this is doing. He's bringing, the Xbox is almost becoming like the Apple TV box, right? Where you've got all these streaming apps running on it in the back end. That's what Xbox, and I think whatever the console will be called in the future, will ultimately become, where it's almost like a media center, and you've got all these apps and third-party pieces of software running in over the top, and Xbox is just your central hub. And we're seeing this with EA, we're seeing it with Game Pass, now we're seeing it with Ubisoft Multi-Access, or Ubisoft Plus Multi-Access, sorry, can't forget the plus. Some of the naming conventions on these things, I had a chuckle, related but unrelated, how HBO Max is now just called Max, and the whole internet just taking the piss of that this week. I had a nice chuckle reading a few Twitter threads on that one, but it's good to see. And pro-consumer, we're never going to sort of slap that down, because that's what we're all about here, is the best for gamers.
All right.
And something else, I guess you could say the best for gamers, but also the best for adaptations, and it's tying into the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It is now the highest grossing video game adaptation ever, having earned over $500 million globally and $260 million in North America alone. It has also surpassed Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania as the highest grossing movie of 2023 so far. The movie has broken records since its opening weekend, earning $368 million worldwide and beating other popular video game adaptations such as Detective Pikachu, World of Warcraft, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So, quick shout out, I did watch Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania this week. Yeah, it's not very good. completely justified, the reviews out there on that one. But Super Mario Bros. Movie, we talked about it glowingly last week, and we were talking about how this movie is going to make so much kashish, and the proof is in the pudding right here.
Yes, and I am so happy to report on this because I've been having a nervous wreck based on our spicy take bet because a lot of things seem to be moving in your direction. So this is I think it's my first win, my first official win, because I don't think they can take the money back. So
No.
Mario beating all the video game movies in the box office, that's one for me.
That is one for you. That's a solid win. Like, yeah, any negativity that we had for this movie leading up to its release is way, way back in the rearview mirror now. Like, it wasn't a perfect movie. It was fun, but like, it's crazy that this movie just is breaking barriers as far as the video game niche having success at the box office. Like we mentioned, Detective Pikachu and Sonic and things like that making some money, but this has just dwarfed it. Like, this could potentially become $1 billion film. Like, it could become one of the highest grossing films of all time, which is great. And so having that off the back of the success of The Last of Us, it's a good time for gamers and watching it be adapted to small and big screen.
It's my favorite comment that's been kind of going around as well, where it's like, who would have thought that adapting a game just 100% true to the game would actually succeed, you know?
Yeah.
The Last of Us has done incredibly well, and then Super Mario Brothers movie is skyrocketing. So maybe in the future, when they're choosing to pick up these games and develop them into movies and series, they just can stay dedicated to the actual source material.
Yeah, and get people to act as the showrunner or the lead director, producer, writer from films. Get people that are invested and give a shit about the source material, because you can see when it translates, it's great. Instead of just having some Hollywood bigwig just try and go, oh yeah, we'll take that brand and we'll turn it into a Hollywood classic.
Or Henry Cavill is an example of having the lead actor try to keep things true to the source material.
Yeah, which can go one way or the next, depending on the rumor mill you believe there on the Witcher stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's some good news. But something else that I wanted to highlight this week, I just called this bit of news here, "Goddamn, this is cool." And I've grabbed some words from Eurogamer. And I'm talking about, when I say "goddamn, this is cool," I'm talking about Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, which is the next game from Dragon Age writer David Gator. And it now has an official release date of the 3rd of August of 2023. And in a stream hosted by Twitch channel Critical Role earlier this week, further details on the game were provided. The game is set in a modern fantasy world where Greek gods live hidden among us, and follows a college dropout given the power of a muse. And if the game's title wasn't already clear, the whole thing is presented as a fully sung musical. Players will make a number of choices to charm, negotiate, or strong-arm their way through the game, determining their own path to the end. There are 4 potential romance options as well. Nice. Gator is best known for his work on the Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic series, and the cast is made up of veterans from The Last of Us, obviously Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, Laura Bailey, and Mel Dandridge. Baker is also voice directing the game. I didn't expect him to have a decent singing voice, but it turns out, before acting, he was the lead singer of an alt-rock band named Trip Fontaine, and also released a solo music album. Then there's Felicia Day, Kari Payton, and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who have acted in countless films, TV shows, animations, and games between them. We've also got Erika Ishii, who does Valkyrie in Apex Legends, musical theatre, and Star Trek actor Anthony Rapp, Raoul Coley, and many, many more. As for the music, Journey and Banner Saga composer Austin Wintory has provided songs, along with Scott Edgar, Stephen Gates, and Simon Hall of Australian musical comedy trio Tripod.
Nice.
There's also music from Australian art pop musician and Twitch streamer Montaigne, who Eurovision fans will remember as the country's entry from 2021. So I watched parts of the stream. I also watched the latest trailer. This game looks a ton of fun. I am very excited to play this later this year. It's only coming out on PC to begin with, which, you know, that's fine. Maybe this will be the first game I'll play on my computer finally after a year and a half.
Wow.
A point and click, probably real simplified musical.
I am in disbelief.
But something else that's really, really awesome. about this game is it's done by Summerfall Studios, which is a Melbourne-based game studio. So, Aussie and all that stuff here. Heavily backed by the Victorian state government and Film Victoria. And it's also, available obviously on Steam, Humble Games, and it's done through the Unreal Engine. But man, oh man, is there some heavy hitters attached to this game, and it just looks fun. Are you in on this as the resident sort of musical game-based fan? Are you in on this one?
I've been in on this since March 2022 when they appeared in the Humble Game Showcase.
I love that. I completely forgot about this game, to be honest.
I think a lot of people did because everyone's acting like it's the first time we've seen something about it. But I remember it was a very short showcase that we witnessed at the start of the year, like I think it was like I said March roughly, and Humble Game Showcase. They had a brief snippet of titles that they just wanted to show, and this was one of them. And straight away I'm like, excuse me, it's a musical about the gods? Yes, please. And then I also found out that Laura Bailey was playing the lead in it too, and she was singing. I know that Laura Bailey has been kind of experimenting with singing as along with her incredible voice acting. She also sung in Legend of Vox Machina. She did a singing piece, 2 singing pieces in that, I believe. So this has been already on my radar. It's nice seeing everyone else hyping about it. A lot of people kind of get a bit funny when the term musical is added to things, but it's just great to see a lot of people getting excited and backing it. It's only going to do more for this title. Obviously having an attachment to so many incredible voice actors is also incredible. I can't wait to see what Raoul Coley does in this because he has such an interesting range in acting, and we've only seen him just, continually succeeding. So I'm looking forward to that. And I knew about Troy Baker having his little solo career doing like acoustics and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm going to love it, and it just makes me more happy to see that it's actually Australians that are involved in making it. So I can't wait.
I'm hyped, and Not only, yes, the heavy hitters as far as the cast that's involved in this from a voice work perspective, from the music, but also David Gator, who obviously is one of the biggest names in video game writing. He's had himself attached to some huge franchises, so have him tied into this as well. But also the art style, the aesthetic of this game, it looks very, very nice. Yeah, I'm all aboard Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I am so down for this, and get ready gaming PC as I sort of tap it and touch it gently off screen here.
Why don't
Our time has finally
me?
come. Yeah. August the 3rd, we're playing Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Gonna put it through its paces with the very simplified...
Push that graphics card.
Yeah, it's gonna be howling by how pretty this game is going to look and feel. And
it'll be singing.
That's nailed it. Close it up. Episode's done.
Wrap it
Can't
up.
improve on that. But no, it's I'm super hyped. So yeah, shout out to Summerfall Studios and shout out to Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, because we are all aboard this train. That's for sure. All right, let's shift gears. We'll jump from news. Oh, I guess it still is news, but it's in a different fashion now.
Tweet of the week.
And the original tweet we're going to reference is from maybe a month ago now, or a few weeks ago now. And the original tweet that was doing the rounds was from at Ray Narvaez Jr., which is Narvaezjr. And the tweet simply read, "The new Peppa Pig game is wild," in all caps. And we've grabbed a little bit of a follow-up bit of verbiage that's now doing the rounds, where the developers have sort of since adding some wording and some depth as to what happened. As far as the tweet that says the new Peppa Pig game is wild, it's in relation to this as follows. So Peppa Pig World Adventures is a game that allows players to explore different parts of the world. In the London section of the game, players can meet the late Queen Elizabeth II in a playful sequence that involves riding a bus and jumping in muddy puddles with Peppa and her friends. The game developers had already implemented the Queen's character and the London section when news of her passing came up during development. they decided to keep the London section in as a tribute to the Queen, with an in memoriam section screen added at the very end of the chapter. The game's developers felt that it was important to keep the Queen in the game, as she was an important figure in the United Kingdom and the world for decades. So the sort of the video caption with Ray playing through the game, you actually see him experiencing this, and he's jumping in the puddles with the Queen, and it's a whimsical moment. And yeah, then you get this black screen with an in memoriam, Queen Elizabeth II and her life and death
Peppa
years.
Pig form.
Yeah, in the animated Peppa Pig form, and as a little kiddo playing this game, it would be very jarring and very confusing as to what's happening here. But his reaction was priceless. But it's funny now that the development team have sort of come out and I guess tried to add a little bit of weight as to why it happened. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Follow Ray on the socials. He's a hell of a follow. He's got some great reactions and some great sort of live gameplays. He's a hell of a character. And his reaction to this scene, I was howling when I saw it on Twitter a few weeks back.
It's brilliant. Yeah, like it's a kids game, so it's an interesting choice to kind of throw it in there. Like, I know that they were trying to be respectful and such, but I don't know. It's an interesting choice.
It really is. And anyone that has watched a minute of Peppa Pig will realize that Peppa Pig, she's just a bitch anyway. She's mean to everybody. She's so nasty to her little brother, and she's not a good time. But shout out to Queen Elizabeth having some fun, jumping in some puddles. And maybe the puddles in hell that she's now jumping in are equally as fun to jump into. But let's move into the last part of the potty.
New releases and events.
All right, as far as new podcasts dropping this week from us here at the broader 8-Bit team, we've got another episode of More Than Hentai coming out this week, where we are going to be diving deep on Vinland Saga. And I am joined by friend of the show, Liam Hart there. It was a hell of a discussion this past week on that one, and he's making his actual podcast recording debut. So check that one out over at More Than Hentai, an anime appreciation podcast where we unpack this fantastic Viking historical themed anime that is doing great things now into its second season. As far as things making its way to the screens, Evil Dead Rise is coming out at the cinemas this week. I'm going to go check it out and report back. Are you going to try and watch this before we record next week as well?
I will try my best, because I think my husband actually does want to see this one as well. So we might try to make time and see this one at the cinema.
Yeah, it's going to be so messed up, but I'm so excited. We've also got Beau is Afraid coming out this week, as well as A Good Person. So 3 films that are getting a lot of positive media spin. 3 very different films, but 3 films that I equally want to watch. But I'm so excited for Evil Dead Rise. And then Beau is Afraid looks like quite a interesting jaunt, very quirky. It's like a horror comedy, I think, or like a comedy thriller. I can't quite get the lead on the overall tone.
It looks like a Bing John Malkovich kind of tone, movie.
Perfect. And it's the latest film from Ari Aster, who's done, Midsummer, and he's done Hereditary. And on that sort of Midsummer dotted line, A Good Person is coming out, which has our favorite blonde English woman, Florence Pugh, in it as well. So 3 great films, all making its way to the big screen. As far as games coming out this week, we've got Disney Speedstorm, God of Rock, Minecraft Legends, Puzzle Quest 3, The Mage Seeker, A League of Legends story, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Series, Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores, Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, Lost Epic, Super Meat Boy Forever, making its way to mobile platforms, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, and Dead Island 2 finally coming out as well. So there's some heavy hitters in that list.
There's some pretty good games here. I know that I've got a few people that are pretty excited for Dead Island too, so I've probably got to keep some time for that one somehow. And Minecraft Legends, I wasn't completely sold on it, but there's been a few little bits of promotional detail that's kind of come out. I'm like, maybe. I've been kind of desperate to jump back on Minecraft. Decent
reviews. The review, the NDA lifted overnight, and so we're starting to see the Minecraft Legends reviews trickle out, and it's been reviewing pretty well. There has been some mixed messaging where they're saying, it can be a bit uneven here or there, but once it really hits its straps, it's great. The Horizon Forbidden West DLC, Burning Shores, I am all in on that. I'm going to be playing the shit out of that this week.
No way.
But I'm also going to play Coffee Talk Episode 2, which is Hibiscus and Butterfly, available through Xbox Game Pass, as well as the first episode of Coffee Talk. So do yourselves a favor and play those very cute pixel dating sim related games because they're a great experience, a lot more so than the experience that I had this week earlier with Cabaret. But plenty of games coming out. I'm very curious to see how Dead Island 2 reviews because it has been also a very uneven release schedule for that game for many years. And then obviously we got delays from when it's meant to be out in February. But I'm excited for more first-person zombie-related anarchy.
Yeah.
All right. And outside of that, if you don't want to play things or listen to Vinland Saga, which, why would you not want to listen to it? Because it's a great episode of More Than Hentai. I've also wanted to shout out to the team over at Cure Cancer because they've got their Game On Cancer initiative returning later this month. And from the 28th of April right through to the 31st of May, Cure Cancer are assembling a group of superhero streamers of all shapes and sizes to raise money to fight cancer. And to date, they've raised over $750,000 AUD for vital cancer research. So, check out Cure Cancer on the social medias. They've got a whole host of content creator-based teams there jumping on, raising money for the next 4 weeks from the end of this month to try and do what they can to, cure and fight cancer. So
awesome.
Great work there from the Cure Cancer team. And Game On Cancer initiative, love it. We'll see what we can do to help from an 8-bit and THG related perspective. But Miss Hart, that brings us to the end of THG 323. Anything else you wanted to shout out or mention before we get on out of here?
All I'm going to recommend is, every now and then, guys, go for a hike, go for a walk. I've been doing a lot of hiking lately and, long walks in nature. And I know the kids like to make fun and say touch grass, but, sometimes it's good.
Also, maybe touch rocks. Do you touch rocks when you hike?
Actually, there's a lot of rock touching, especially in the really rough areas of the desert. But go outside. The sun is scary, but, just let it kiss you a little bit. Little sun kiss.
Exactly. But also slip, slop, slap, as they say, because you got to take care of your skin.
Yeah. Oh, I miss that little saying. I should say it over here. See the looks I get.
See if you can normalize that statement over there. When you're getting out in the sun, say that to as many people as you know and see if it starts to just stick in and become part of their routine by osmosis. So
we'll make it
slip,
a thing.
slop, slap. Mm-hmm. Yep, that is the end of episode 323 of THG. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe us and all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. But until next time, 8-Bit Nation, much love!
And stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.